Joining me now on the show is Mr. P.K. Jain, former Additional Director General of the Maharashtra Police. Saral Patel represents the Congress party on this broadcast. Rohini Salyan represents the BJP. Saral Patel, you've heard the BJP. It's come out all guns blazing saying the Congress party, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi must apologize for this term Saffron Terror and floating the bogey of Hindu terror, sir.
Gaurav, before I quickly answer your question, I would like to say, as an Indian, not as a spokesperson of any party, that today's day when US is humiliating India by slapping 25% tariff on us, by the kind of language that Trump has used, it would have been fitting if the subject of this debate was around our failed economic policy,
That's coming up
defense
on India
policy, and
Today. I've asked you a specific question. I want you to answer that, sir.
policy.
Let me decide what goes on my show, sir.
I'm just pointing this out as your viewer and as a citizen of a country. Coming back to your question, let me make it categorically clear. It's Congress party's stand that terror, any sort of terror, has no color, has no tilak, has no topi, has no religion. The the term that you are using has been coined by the BJP MP right now, Mr. R.K. Singh. So it's fitting the BJP asked this question to its own MP, that why did he coin that term during his tenure as Home Secretary, and why even after that they rewarded him with the cabinet ministry. Coming back to the Malegaon Acquittal, so I don't think it's a closure. It's a confession that politics has trampled justice, and this is not just an allegation. It's a record. It's on record that public prosecutor Miss Rohini Salyan has said that she was asked to go slow in this case by NIA in 2015.
The case was under investigation from 2008 onwards. NIA came into the picture much later, and anyway, Rohini Salyan wants to come in. Rohini Salyan, why should the Congress apologize if the probe was faulty from the word go and the accused were let off for lack of evidence? The allegations are that once the BJP government came in power, as Saral Patel says, that the moment the BJP government came, Rohini Salyan was asked to go slow on this case, sir. So the case was deliberately weakened.
Well, good evening, Gaurav. Good evening, everybody. On a day when Rahul Gandhi, when he spoke outside Parliament, he should have profusely apologized to the nation for concocting the Saffron Terror narrative, he ends up abusing India again. This has been the reality of the UPA era. Let me put this on record, and in fact, you are one of the journalists who would agree with me. From 2006 onwards, there are multiple terror cases where investigation was deliberately botched up in the early stages. That includes the 2006 train blast in Mumbai, that includes the 2007 Samjhauta Express blast, that includes another blast in Hyderabad in the same year in 2007, and that includes 2008 Malegaon blast. Now, the question that needs to be asked is, why was Congress ultra soft towards Pakistan-based terror groups? That is because they didn't have the ability to take on Pakistan, the gumption to take on Pakistan. So instead, the best alternative for them was to concoct a vile and spurious narrative of Saffron Terror. And this narrative went on for the next 7 years till the time they were in office. If in 2015 a certain judge has been asked to go slow, I'm not sure, because Congress is an expert in concocting, in misrepresenting facts, but that is only because of the anomalies that were already piling up on the case since the last 7 years, in all of the 7 years that the UPA is in power. And by the way, Chidambaram, in a conference of DG Police in 2010, has used the word Hindu terror. Sushil Kumar Shinde, whose daughter, by the way, just 2 days ago called Operation Sindoor a tamasha, was again somebody who would frequently use the word Saffron Terror. So these people are deliberate culprits. They have been, shielding Pakistan-based terror groups from then, and they continue to do so even after Operation Sindoor, which you have seen in the last few days.
Saral Patel, of course, says the then Home Secretary was rewarded by the BJP, made a minister and a member of parliament when he joined the BJP and had used the word Saffron Terror. But Mr. Jain, I want to stay on the point of investigations for a moment. Were the investigations tainted from step one? The initial team had arrested a different set of suspects. Mr. Jain, you heard RVS Mani, who spoke of Ahle Hadith, followers of a certain group who had been taken into custody. The Maharashtra ATS arrested a different set of suspects. The NIA court ruled that the prosecution failed to prove a case, citing not just not being able to stitch together case, but also citing defective sanctions, unauthorized phone call interceptions. In your appreciation, what investigative lapses or external pressures during the probe, ATS probe, NIA probe, that may have weakened the case, weakened the evidence leading to this acquittal, sir?
Gaurav, thank you very much for inviting me here. See, this observation was made by Mr. Mani about the 2006 case.
Yes.
2006 case, there was a different set of accused who were actually charge sheeted. And this investigation was carried out by the local police first, and then by the ATS, and subsequently by the CBI and NIA.
Yes.
The second case was of 2008. Now, I'll tell you about the 2006 case first. In this case, all these accused who were charge sheeted, subsequently, when the 2008 case was being investigated, and all these people, Sadhvi Pragya, Karna Prohit, and all these people were roped in. So after that, the original accused in the 2006 case were discharged.
Let off.
And
Yes.
these people were made the accused in this in the 2006 case. With the result that the 2006 actual accused against whom a whole lot of evidence was available, they were left scot-free, and the people against whom there was not an iota of evidence, which now after today's case judgment, it will be absolutely crystal clear, against whom there was not an iota of evidence, were made accused, and they will also go scot-free in that case. That case has yet not been decided. Now, coming to 2008 case, I was IG security by that time. I was no longer IG Nasik. But since we were in the headquarters, we got to know of the progress in the investigation, and everything happened. Now, it's a fact that these accused were booked. They were involved in this case deliberately. Now, this narrative started sometime in the year 2008 when they wanted to, the Bogey or the narrative of the Hindu terror or the Saffron Terror was being promoted. This happened in 2008 case of Malegaon. This happened, the same thing, Mr. Mushrif, who was one of our ex-IGs,
Yes.
he wrote a book about the RSS conspiracy. He then, there was a
26
book
RSS
launch.
की साजिश.
Yes. Then there was another book launch where Mr. Digvijay Singh was very categorically said something about the Hindu terror and the Bhagwa Atankvad. So all this Bogey was created right from 2008 to 2013. They kept on repeating the same allegations, arguments. There was not an iota of truth. Now, I have no intricate knowledge of the investigation of 2008, but since I was very closely and thickly involved with the supervision of 2006 case,
Yes.
which was completely overturned and thrown into the dustbin, that investigation I'm aware of, and I stand by it. Not only me, the subsequent investigating agencies also stood by it, and the charge sheet was sent. And it was only after the 2008 case that all those accused were discharged and new set of accused was brought in. So
Those who were actually involved, in your view, go on, sir. Yeah, please come to your point, sir.
See, in 2008, a 6 case has now gone completely to dogs. Now, 2008 case, because they wanted to prop up a case, they wanted to apply the sections of MCOCA. MCOCA, as one would like, MCOCA, as one would like to know or learn about it, is that there are 2 previous cases. Registration of 2 previous cases is necessary. That is why the entire thing was, in my opinion, it was the earlier case, 2006 case was also changed, and the charge sheet was sent up in this case under MCOCA. MCOCA case was subsequently withdrawn.
Very pertinent point you're making here. Very pertinent point. And before I bring in Saral Patel again, I want you to listen into the statements that were made during that time about the so-called Hindu terror or Saffron Terror. Who was making it and when? Hear it, because there is evidence of these statements being made.
संघ के लोग और भाजपा की लीडरशिप हमारे को ये तो बताए कि जितने लोग पकड़े जा गए हैं वो सब के सब संघ के कार्यकर्ता हैं कि नहीं हैं। आर.के. सिंह होम सेक्रेटरी साहब ने जो सूची दी है, हम जानना चाहते हैं संघ से और भाजपा से कि ये सब संघ के प्रचारक रहे हैं कि नहीं रहे हैं। अमूमन तौर पर संघ के लोग और भाजपा ये बयान देते थे कि हम ये तो मानते हैं कि हर मुसलमान आतंकवादी नहीं है, लेकिन क्या कारण है जितने आतंकवादी पकड़े गए हैं वो सब मुसलमान क्यों हैं? आज मैं पूछता हूं संघ से और भाजपा से कि हम ये तो बात पूरा मानते हैं कि हर हिंदू तो आतंकवादी हो ही नहीं सकता, लेकिन क्या कारण है कि जितने हिंदू आतंकवाद में पकड़े गए हैं वो संघ के कार्यकर्ता क्यों हैं?
There is a recently uncovered phenomenon of saffron terrorism that has been implicated in many bomb blasts of the past.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी हो या आरएसएस के हो, उनके जो ट्रेनिंग कैंप है वो हिंदू टेररिज्म बढ़ाने का काम देख रहे हैं। इस पर भी हमारी बड़ी कड़ी नजर है।
Saral Patel, respond. 2010, you had P. Chidambaram talking about Saffron Terror. BJP says there's a pattern, and it talks about Samjhauta blast, for example. There was a Pakistani terrorist or a Pakistani terror network that was unearthed. Arif Kasmani had arranged funds for Samjhauta. Both US and UN designated a Pakistani terror financer, Arif Kasmani, put him on 1267 sanctions list, and then in the era of the Congress, it was changed to Hindu terror.
Gaurav, before I answer your question, I would like to quickly retort what BJP, my friend from BJP said before, that Congress seems to be sympathetic towards Pakistan. Nothing can be far from this, because I would like to remind my friend that it is the Congress party that hanged Mr. Ajmal Kasab and Afzal Guru. So he should know his fact, and you were just congratulating Mr. Nikam for that. You should know that it was our government, the UPA government, which investigated and hanged Mr. Ajmal Kasab for 2008 terror attack. The BJP's own MP, Ms. Sadhvi Pragya Thakur, on record from BJP's own stage in Bhopal, when the entire BJP leadership was present, has said in her election rally that it was her shrap that killed Hemant Karkare, who was ATS chief, who sacrificed, who made supreme sacrifice for the country while fighting Mr. Ajmal Kasab and his friends in 2008 terror attack. This is shameful, and BJP must apologize to the nation that they gave a ticket to such person and made such person an MP. Coming back to the 2008 case, it is on record that in 2016, 7 testimonies were taken in front of magistrate, in which all the witnesses have implicated the accused, and till date the government has not been able to find these testimonies. So this is a very fact that this case was watered down and has been systematically watered down under some sort of political pressure, because Ms. Salyan has also filed a parallel petition in Supreme Court in which she presented plethora of evidence, but Supreme Court did not give judgment just because trial court was about to pronounce its verdict. So it is fitting.
So you haven't answered my very specific question on the Samjhauta blast, Pakistan's involvement, and Arif Kasmani. You haven't answered that in your entire answer, but I didn't want to interrupt you while you were speaking. Tuhin Sinha, if initial leads may have indicated Lashkar-e-Taiba involvement, but later, as you know, some in the government believed at that time that the links then turned towards Hindu terror. There were some statements that were made even in Pakistan that, so-called Hindu terrorists had sought the help of Arif Kasmani of Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan. So the probe direction changed. So such was the claim that was made. Why does a political establishment or a political party have to apologize for it? Why is the BJP making this political?
No. So are you are yourself suggesting, Gaurav, that Congress has been borrowing its agendas from Pakistan for the last 2 decades? Who was the person who apparently went to US embassy and said that, Hindu extremism is a bigger danger to the country than LET? Obviously, it was Rahul Gandhi, if you trust the US ambassador and what was reported on WikiLeaks. When was it happening? At a time when between 2004 to 2009, one major blast would take place after every 38-40 days and across the country. So if in that situation, Rahul Gandhi believed that Hindu extremism posed a graver danger than LET, then God save this Congress party. My friend from Congress is waxing eloquent on how they solved the 2611, but please remember that 2611 was a culmination of multiple terror blasts which were taking place over the previous 5 years, and they took place because you were lax with investigation. All your investigations were botched up, including the 2006 Mumbai blast, where there was no terror, Hindu terror angle, Saffron terror angle, but still the wrong people, or perhaps the wrong people, were implicated because we found it extremely difficult to secure conviction for them despite the Mocha court convicting them in 2015. But these initial botch-ups in your investigation, whether they were deliberate or accidental or due to your incompetence, they encouraged terrorists throughout to carry out a series of unending blasts across the UPA era. That is the difference today. And now when you are in opposition, you still continue to peddle the Pakistan agenda post-Operation Sindoor.
Okay, I'll get Saral Patel to respond to that, but Mr. Jain, I want to stay with the Samjhauta blast for a moment because that has international ramifications. Did changing the course of investigations and letting the Pakistani terrorists off the hook weaken India's case globally and put this taint on Hindu terror when there was evidence that Samjhauta was the handiwork of Pakistan and Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists?
See, Gaurav, this was the government which was in power. They were party in power. They had a clear-cut agenda. So they were trying to proliferate the same agenda across the cases. As I said, MCOCA cannot be invoked unless there are two previous charge sheets in earlier criminal offenses. So Samjhauta Express was one. The second one was the Malegaon blast of 2006. So all these cases were pinned on these accused who were made accused in 2008 case, and these sections of MCOCA were invoked. Subsequently, MCOCA was thrown out, and only UAPA stayed, which also the court threw out today. So unfortunately, it seems that some officers, some investigators did bow down to the political pressure at that time, and they carried on the narrative of. In fact, I spoke to. I mean, I have said it earlier on various programs. I spoke to Mr. Karkare once. He's unfortunately no more, and he cannot counter my statement. I asked him, why did you change the entire course of investigation of 2006? He said, no, sir, we got some other leads into the case, and that's why we have reopened the case and given further evidence to the court. I know there was not an iota of truth in what he said, because the fact is that when I was there, ATS chief was there, central agencies had come, NTRO people had come, and we were all doing a joint investigation. Everybody was in sync with the investigation, saying that the people whom we had arrested were the actual culprits, were the actual accused. So apparently, it may have brought down, it may have caused a little embarrassment to Bharat on the international arena by the claims of the Hindu, Saffron Terror, etc., etc. But 2007, the Samjhauta Express case was thrown out. Everybody was acquitted. And now in 2025, we find that this particular case also has ended into acquittal. So the entire narrative of the political party which was in power at that time has been totally trashed. This is the only thing I can say. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Gaurav.
You know, I'd covered some of these cases on ground, and it was just unbelievable that we were covering these cases from day one. Initially, it would start off as Lashkar-e-Taiba, and it was Arif Kasmani, and this was the handiwork of Lashkar-e-Taiba, and suddenly Hindu terror Bogey came into these investigations. In fact, I was anchoring one of those days the day it had happened. But I also want to, I've run out of time on this part of the show, but Saral Patel will get you back, and Tuhin Sinha and Mr. Jain, to talk about what RVS Mani just said. RVS Mani had sent an affidavit in the Ishrat Jahan case. Again, that was a case I had covered. In the Ishrat Jahan case, the Intelligence Bureau in Delhi sent out leads on Ishrat Jahan and the Pakistani Lashkar-e-Taiba module that there was an attempt to assassinate then Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi. We'd covered that case, and suddenly he signed that affidavit. Later, he was forced to change that affidavit and tortured because he did not change that affidavit. That central agency sent no leads. What was happening in the Ministry of Defense, in the Home Affairs at that point of time? And my big question is, 11 years Narendra Modi government has been in power, Amit Shah as the Home Minister. Was that investigated? And if not, why not? And if people were playing with terror, with national security, will action be taken against them, or will it just remain a political case? We'll track that story very closely. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me.